Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Kelly Stewart, joined by Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI on Twitter, and the man, the myth, the legend, as always, Dave was telling me Playboy stories in case everybody wanted to know before we got started, and it just really threw me off. But at Dave Koken stayed in Las Vegas instead of going to the Playboy Mansion because it was football season. I'm still floored. You guys are not giving Dave a follow on Twitter at Dave Koken, and maybe he will tweet out some of those old school Las Vegas stories. We're going to get right into it. Louisville, 1.5-point favorite at Florida State. Now, this total, it's kind of perplexing to me, 62. Florida State, man. I had them last week, guys, at Wake Forest. I thought the Jacksonville State loss was a little fraudulent, more so in the fact that they lost that Notre Dame game twice. Nah, it looked like basically, I turned the TV off at the beginning of the third quarter, so I'm not even going to lie, but it looked like Wake Forest had the best of that Florida State team. Dave, have they quit on Mike Norvell? What's going on here?
I don't know if quit's the right word, but the team is not disciplined at all. They took a ton of bad penalties last week against Wake Forest. That was a bad performance. And you weren't the only one in Florida State, because I had the Seminoles last week as well. I kind of dismissed the fluky loss to the FCS team, and I thought they'd shown some life in that Notre Dame matchup. The problems are clear on this team. Number one, they're not very good defensively. Number two, as I mentioned, they're not very disciplined. And number three, they got to just simply look. Mackenzie Milton's a great story. The fact that he's gotten back on the football field in the first place is a great story. And what he did late in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame was a great story. But we've seen since then, he's not who he used to be. Maybe he will be someday. I don't know. But he can't move. He never had a great arm anyway. It was more of a finesse quarterback and getting by in his smarts. But with his physical skills now being limited somewhat, he can't just get by in his smarts. So they're going to have to go with Travis as the quarterback. And he's got talent. There's no question about that. He can throw a good deep ball. He's got mobility. I mean, he's got a chance to be a good quarterback. He's not there yet. Cunningham, I've never considered him to be a great quarterback, but what he does have is great leadership skills. And boy, were those on display last week, as Louisville got a really good win for them against UCF. My numbers still say Florida State. And as I've mentioned previously, it takes a while for my numbers to adjust. I have more of a sliding scale that's somewhat a slow slide rather than making big adjustments off one game. So I've still got Florida State probably rated a little higher than they ought to be. And I made Florida State 1.5 in this game. I'm kind of glad the numbers only 1.5 the other way, because if Louisville's 3 in this game, I just have to take Florida State based on my numbers and what I see as an advantage. But with my line being 1.5 Louisville and my power ratings being 1.5 Florida State, it's close enough so I can pass the game, which is really what I want to do. This might, from a situational standpoint, though, be a good spot for Florida State. I mean, that is a great win that Louisville's coming off of. They have to travel, and I think maybe the marketplace could be overreacting that win. This is still not a very good Louisville football team, and they can't stop the run at all. So maybe the Seminoles can get a ground game going here and pull this one out. I'm just not willing to bet on it.
Man, Dave, you know I love those ugly dogs, but this one is just ugly. It's homeless. It's needed a bath for a year, especially after the last couple of weeks. It's got fleas. Adam, I was with Joe, our producer, on the show, and Drew Martin Betts on Friday night in Miami. We're watching Drew Martin Betts, big UCF fan. I said, oh, I got the points with Louisville, and of course I sprinkled a little bit on the money line. I thought Louisville was really competitive against, I think, a good UCF squad. But Dave hit the nail on the head here. I think they're just a tad bit overvalued. I'm not sure I can get to the window with Florida State, but there's no way I'm touching Louisville. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, Kelly, they were competitive on Friday. They put 500 yards of offense up against UCF, and I think that's going to be the biggest difference here. I don't think Mikael Cunningham and Louisville are going to have it as easy against Florida State. The reason is Florida State actually has a pass rush. UCF really couldn't get pressure on Cunningham, and I think the Florida State, one of the redeeming qualities of this team, which definitely has some issues, is their ability to get after the quarterback. I'll tell you, I haven't bet this yet. I want to bet Florida State here. I'm trying my best to make enough of a case to get on them. There's definite sharp money behind them so far this week. And I really do think, had they pulled that game out against Notre Dame, that they'd be 2-1 right now, and we'd probably be looking at Florida State -3 on their home field in this game. Louisville is a team that I've sort of wanted to fade from the beginning of the year. I had Ole Miss week 1 laying the points against Louisville, and they're just not a team I've been super high on coming into the season. I don't think and the result last week, it's a nice win against UCF for them, but that doesn't really, bump them too high in my rating of this team. Florida State, yeah, like Dave said, they've got some issues. Mackenzie Milton's not the same guy. I hope they go with Travis here as the starter because I do think they have a better chance to win with him as the starting quarterback. I haven't bet it yet, but I am strongly considering Florida State. I have a hard time seeing them go 0-4. And again, it comes back to, they had a great chance to beat Notre Dame. Had they won that game, I think they probably come out and beat Jacksonville State the following week. And maybe, they're not as dejected and they don't look as bad against Wake Forest. The question is, can they turn it around? That's what's to be seen. But I think this is sort of like the last-ditch effort spot on like saving the season for Florida State. You can't start 0-4. I like Florida State, getting a couple points. Definitely the value is the only way I would play this one.
All right, awesome stuff from Dave and Adam. I'll jump on Twitter and let you guys know if I have the cojones to actually bet the Noles. Just don't know if I can do it. Head over to our WagerTalk YouTube channel and check out all of our other videos.